Francis Bacon's Pope Innocent X study after Velazquez, 1953, a raging reinvention of the classic Pope Innocent X by Diego Velazquez, 1650. The post-war so-called Screaming Pope is deformed and melting. It could reflect his lifelong problem of asthma and existentialist ideologies that raged on throughout his life. Each rendition extracts layers from the original to create raw images through Bacon's eyes. His psychological pain screams out of the canvas through the grotesque and gelatinous recreations of the Pope. These paintings could represent his insecurities of how he views himself as less by society's standards and pictures his own mortality. Francis didn't really express himself as disabled. In an interview with M. Archambaud, he said, "It is probably something that's influenced my work, but is impossible for me to say how." Rachel Gazden talks about this in her research on how illness and disability manifests in the aesthetics of the artwork. Her research really influenced my idea of my discussion. However, I have chose to investigate the idea of how labeling an artist as disabled can be damaging to their character. Disability cannot stop me from becoming a complete personality, said by Samayak Lalit. It's a strong testament on unrecognized discrimination against people with the genetic and neurological differences. It challenges the societal meaning of disabled people by arguing against the opinion that people have a range of disorders can be lumped together and viewed as just that. Reflecting on this, claiming a direct and complete influence on his study after Velazquez from his asthma would just be a prejudice. By disregarding him as a person with thoughts and feelings, and more as a disregard. The social model of disability, which states any differences, physical, cognitive, or behavioural, are defined by whatever label is applied to an individual, is evaluated and labelled through a process of power, which then serves to separate them from mainstream society. This also shows that labelling Francis as disabled would diminish his work and character by disregarding other relevant parts of his life, such as his abusive childhood. Bacon's persistence on the portrayal of vulnerability of the human form through the Pope series acknowledges the social model of disability, which emphasizes the importance of acknowledging and embracing diverse bodily experiences by depicting figures in various states of physical and emotional distress. Bacon challenges the notion of an idealized and homogeneous body, thereby destabilizing skewed societal outcome of disabled and abnormal or inferior, actively critiquing perpetual stigma against people with disabilities. The contorted figures of Pope series seem to uncover the narrative of society's rejection and the exclusion that individuals labelled as disabled face, in a nature that forces an empathetic reaction through the isolating discomfort in the paintings as a lens to the viewpoint of discrimination individuals with disabilities face. However, this is only one opinionated extrapolation of this art, as devised of many more reasons for the confused series repelling design. Ultimately, Bacon's artworks serve as a potent reminder of the urgent need for societal change and inclusivity. Through his unflinching portrayal of human suffering and resilience, he compels viewers to confront their own biases and preconceptions, fostering empathy and understanding for the experiences of disabled individuals. In a world that often overlooks or disregards the voices of the marginalised, Bacon's art emerges as a beacon of hope and solidarity. This allows us to dismantle the barriers that divide and strive towards more inclusive society. However, there is validity to artists who define themselves as disabled, as it is part of their own identity, and how they view themselves before anyone else is how it should be. A person should label themselves. Yet the work of disabled artists is not always an index of symptoms. The sedimentation of illness into aesthetic form, or an unmediated reflection of the artist's corporeality. This suggests that even if an artist were to refer themselves as disabled, does not mean that there must be a direct inspiration towards their artistic outcome.